Welcome, my beautiful woman, to another episode of Lingerie and Lattes. Thank you for sitting through this with me. I want to share this episode regarding a little more about the nuances between men and women and how we can really bridge the gap of communication so that we can start to really build stronger, deeper connections in our relationships. So if you don't know who I am Olivia Drumaga. I founded Vulcan Ability as a method for women to have a path to follow in a monogamous, loving relationship to their man and to experience pleasure in their bodies. So we want to experience pleasure. However, a lot of the world right now is really skewed towards casual encounters. Obviously, if you're listening to this channel, you have a bit of a different outlook on that, because that's the roots of my movement, is to really show people how to build monogamous relationships and to put efforts into their partnership so that they can have a fulfilling life with one person. It's become very difficult to understand how we're supposed to relate to each other as a woman to a man, because we're living in a world that has blurred the lines of what it means to be equal as a man and woman. What do I mean by that? If we go by biological standards, men have stronger bone density or just more bone density. They have stronger muscles than we do. They have natural abilities that are indicative of what they can perhaps bring to the table. Just as women have certain attributes that we can nourish in ourselves and become more in the flow of life. So I want to just kind of pause here for a moment and share that we have progressed immensely as a society, especially towards women in the Western world, where we are being viewed a lot more respectfully and so forth. So none of the things that I'm sharing is to diminish that. I still do strongly believe that women should be respected. They should have their voices heard and actually listened to and so forth. What I share is a little bit more from a esoteric perspective. I want to focus on the energies, the subtle energies that rule us and help us guide us to a stronger harmony between the male and feminine. So if we think about the natural tendencies for women, it tends to be more emotional because our cycles happen every 28 days, more or less. So the hormones within our bodies are always changing day by day. And throughout our lifetime, we go through the stages of not having a moon cycle, then growing up as a woman and starting to nourish our bodies once a week. For a week, one time out of the month, and to retreat back into ourselves, shed physically as well as metaphorically our psyches. And beyond that, we have the menopausal stage, which is where a woman finishes her cycle. So we are very cyclical beings, and there's always a season to a woman, whether it be a season of the day. I start my day very much high energy, and then I really decline quickly towards the end of the evening, because that's just my natural tendency. I have a lot of energy, I have a lot of focus and attention brought forth to the start of my day, and then towards the end, I see that as an unwind. So there's cycles, there's seasons within this cycle that I'm experiencing. In this moment, it's a high energy spot for me. If you catch me at, let's say, 8 p.m., 7 p.m., you might see me in a very different light. Men, on the other hand, don't have cycles to go through as intensely as women. They don't go through shedding periods physically once a month that causes them to retreat. It has to be more of an intentional action for them to retreat, go inward, and perhaps release something. For us, it is almost impossible to avoid shedding for a woman in her lifetime. So why do I bring all this up? Because if we start to understand what drives us and how we think about things because of the way our hormones are working, or because of the way that our cycles are naturally progressing, then it becomes much easier to understand where we can relate to men, or we can notice the differences and therefore not push our own ideologies onto them, but rather take a step back and again form a sort of bridge between the two. The biggest misconception, in my opinion, right now is that men and women are somehow a contrast of each other. Yes, they're a contrast, and also they are a complement to each other. If we remember that, then we start to notice those strengths that I've mentioned for men as something we want to bring forth even more so, because then a woman's natural strengths can also come through more strongly, and then you have that strong partnership. Because if you think about even physical weaving, if you're weaving a basket, you need two different strands in order to create some sort of connection, some sort of tension, some sort of a pattern. It's the same thing with people. If we have two people coming together and creating a masterpiece, then they're each bringing their own gifts to the process. As I wrap up this subject for you to digest for the week, I want to bring up again the idea of listening, because we want to really be heard as women. And we don't sometimes notice how much we speak and how much we talk about things that sometimes not necessarily don't matter, but don't seem as crucial to a conversation as perhaps men who relay the story. And what I want to just share there is neither of those particular paths are wrong or better. It's just the different way that we are. So as we go through this week, as a woman, I would like you to consider, how can I be bringing a little bit more of my attention, my focus, and my listening to the table? How can I step away from speaking up before I've really heard the person? Men are very good at holding space if they are in their divine masculine, and women are very good at listening when we are in our divine feminine. So I just want to strengthen that skill. Noticing, are there certain things or details you perhaps gloss over when you're listening to a story because you find them trivial? And again, that's neither good nor bad, but simply being aware of that can help you perhaps avoid an argument. Let's say you're listening to your partner share something that you're supposed to take care of today. Oh, honey, can you do this for me? Can you go grab whatever you're going to need? It's going to come from the basement. It's going to be on the right side below my blah, 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 blah. And you're listening to him describe something, and all you're catching is, let's say, do this. This is where it is in the general area. And this is a marker for me. Let's say the toolbox is a marker for me. So perhaps there was a crucial point that he reiterated that you simply bypassed because it's not a part of your area of focus. So becoming very aware of, again, what you're good at and what you're perhaps lacking can really drive a relationship forward. We tend to women like to see a bigger picture, be a bit more future focused, visionary, and men are a lot more present and finer detail oriented. Again, both of those complement each other, because now we can focus on how we're building the steps right now in order to create that larger image that we're headed towards as a partnership, because of the woman's ability to map that out in her brain for the potential of the partnership. I hope this has been educational as always, and please join me back next Friday at 11:30 a.m. for another segment of Lingerie and Lattes. Till then, please have an amazing, sacred weekend. Bye, ladies.